Please pray with me. May these words that I speak be grounded in my soul, encouraged by the God presence in me. And may these words that you hear be captured by your soul, enlivened by the God presence in you. Amen. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. If you attended all of the services between December 21st and 28th, you would have sung that song 4 times. It is, in my opinion, a great carol. However, I also believe that the sentiment of this line, "Oh, come, let us adore him," is one of the gravest travesties of the Christian church. There is no record anywhere of Jesus saying, "Come and adore me." There is, rather, considerable record of him saying, "Come and follow me." Religion, it would seem, has turned discipleship into worship, turned Jesus' call to live like him into adoration of him. It has led us too often to see the story of the travelers from the East as representing all nations of the world coming to adore Jesus of Nazareth, the one and only way to God. It is why we have come to see these travelers as kings, even though there is no place in the gospel stories where they are called kings. Not even in the King James Version of the Bible. No, our songs and our additions to the story have made them kings and emphasized their wealth. But the story, in fact, calls them wise men. And they come not to adore, but to honor the one who is wise in God, Jesus, who is wisdom incarnate. And that is because the story, written nearly 90 years after Jesus' death, is based on how he was experienced in life. A human soul full of the wisdom of God, the wisdom of compassion. Jesus became the human incarnation of what the ancient Hebrew scriptures called Chokhmah, what the Greeks called Sophia, and what we call, in English, wisdom. This is because his followers saw all the qualities of Sophia, of wisdom, in him. He possessed a spirit of intelligence and holiness that was compassionate, generous, and loving. For the gospel writers, Jesus became the fulfillment of the words from Baruch, a book that isn't in our Old Testament, but should be. At chapter 3, verse 37, Baruch says, "Wisdom appeared on earth and lives with humankind." We know that Jesus himself would be very familiar with these passages, and many biblical scholars today are convinced that Jesus understood himself to have been anointed by wisdom in preparation for his mission. And Jesus, like all humans, had to choose the way of wisdom, to choose the spirit of compassion. Like any path one chooses, the way of wisdom needs to be nurtured and grown over time. Bruce Sanguin, in his book, Darwin, Divinity and the Dance of the Cosmos, says, Sophia, the wisdom of God, was the template that the gospel writers used to tell the story of Jesus, particularly Matthew and John. And we have evidence of that this morning. Matthew in the story of the travelers, the wise ones, and Anne shared with us the opening of John's Gospel, which is about wisdom being with God from the beginning. Jesus was both teacher of wisdom, child of wisdom, and wisdom incarnate. And so in Matthew we read, Jesus is wisdom incarnate. And in John, Jesus becomes personified wisdom. This is why it is so important to read John's Gospel with wisdom instead of word in the opening chapter, and to read Matthew's story of travelers as wise ones, acknowledging the wisdom of God manifest in Jesus. Jesus called people during his lifetime and continues to call us today to open to the wisdom of God and to choose God's wisdom, the wisdom of love and compassion, as the way to live in the world. True faith is not about believing in Jesus. Faith that rests solely in belief has no way to engage our souls. It is like putting on a backpack full of the things we hold to be true, but it remains separate from our life, opened only when we need it. True faith, I believe, is the practice of living like Jesus, rooted in wisdom. This kind of faith lives in our hearts and our minds and our souls and is open to change as life unfolds before us. This faith is fluid as we engage our life and our world with God's wisdom. This is the light that Jesus became in the world. Not a light above to be adored, but a light within and among us to be imitated. This is the light powered not by the Duracell batteries, but powered by the wisdom of God that can hold and support and grow our own souls and the soul of our community in love and respect and honor for ourselves and for one another. This is the light that brings us again to communion. And this is another place where we discover that the gospel writers saw Jesus as Sophia, or wisdom incarnate. You see, the bread and the wine prepared for those who come to the banquet did not originate with Jesus, but with Sophia. In Proverbs 9, verse 5, we hear this: wisdom has built her house. She has also set her table. She says, "Come, eat of my bread, and drink of the wine I have mixed. Lay aside immaturity and walk in the way of insight." Bruce Sanguin offers this reflection on the connection between Jesus and Sophia, or wisdom, in the act of communion. And he says this: as Jesus gathers his disciple friends for a last meal, he presides as the very presence of wisdom, inviting his disciples to remember him in table fellowship. As wisdom's child, he offers what she offers: bread and wine. When we participate in this meal, we take wisdom as Jesus into our souls. To be nourished at this table is to be nourished by wisdom, to receive grace, to give up our foolish ways and enter the path of wisdom. This is what it means to be light of the world. It is not to be king or Caesar or president or even prime minister. It is to be a beacon, a model of living wisdom. Wise ones were drawn by wisdom's star to encounter Jesus, wisdom incarnate. Coming face to face and soul to soul with Jesus transformed them. Not just the travelers in the story, but all those who he encountered, transformed them, filling them with the wisdom of compassion. And it was the transformation that caused them to find a new way home. They could no longer live in the world as they had, but found themselves on a new path, embracing a new way of being. And like all wise ones, we are called not to adore him, but to become like him, grounded in the wisdom of God, that we too may be light in the world. And so this song comes to mind. I am the light of the world. You people come and follow me. If you follow and love, you'll learn the mystery of what you were meant to do and be. Amen.